Well, welcome back. It's Nicola Cairncross here, and I'm delighted to see you again. So if you've watched my previous videos, you'll see that I'm starting to get my channel going again using a system I developed called Be Everywhere Online. And I teach that system inside my Clicks and Leads Academy. The point of this system is that anyone who's in business, no matter whether they're an expert, author, coach, manufacturer, whatever they are, that they can use this system to easily and quickly create content that they can then spread out over their social media and attract their ideal customer or client. That's the basics of it. And it works really, really well, as I've proved over and over again. It's easy if you can go out and film what your company does and create content around that. For example, I've just been watching the Highclere Castle behind the scenes, and they're doing a really good job of that. But they've got events going on all day long, so they can actually go out and just hire someone to film what's happening. So if your business is like that, then lucky old you. Because if your a business is a knowledge business like mine is, then it's a lot harder to create exciting content. It was okay when I was staying in Greece for a while because, just go out and film the local surroundings, and that made everybody think, oh, that's nice. As I was sort of pontificating about marketing and business and entrepreneurship. If you are a person who's working from your expertise, then actually just sitting in a nice tidy surrounding like this one and talking about your expertise, it works an absolute treat, but you've got to get yourself to do it. So rather than doing one bit of content every day or one bit of content every week, it's much better to batch create your content. While I've been coming back up to speed, I've been doing my content one bit per day, actually. But today I'm going for it. I'm going to record 10 bits of content in one go. I'm going to try and edit as many of those as I can, and then I'm going to pre-schedule them for release. So you can see that if you wanted to create one bit of content a week, you could just create 4 or 5 bits of content in one afternoon, and then that would be your monthly output, especially if you're delegating all the rest of it once you hand it off to someone to edit it and then turn it into all the different appropriate forms that would go out onto the different social media. You can see that with one afternoon a week, you could create all your social media content for 1 month. Pretty cool, huh? With all that said, let's get started on this batch of content, shall we? And what I'm going to do is use my blog post called The Top 10 Entrepreneurs Traps, which you'll find on, in fact, I'll put a link to the blog post in the description below. So I first came across the concept of entrepreneurs traps when I was reading an amazing book called Synchronicity, The Inner Path of Leadership. And it was by a guy called Joseph Jaworski. And he had been a top flying lawyer in Washington. And he'd also had a dad who was a top flight lawyer in Washington. And he was going along the same old path, and he's, fulfilling everyone's expectations of him. And one day he had a bit of a mental breakdown, and he decided to just take off and travel the world. And the book is a rattling good read because it tells the story simultaneously of him going off and traveling the world, and he was also trying to research what synchronicity really is. So he ended up talking to all sorts of interesting people, from business people to quantum physicists. And he was sort of musing on the meaning of life and business and entrepreneurship as he went. So it was a really good read. And in that book, I think I came across the concept of the entrepreneurs traps, and I think he gave us 3 or 4 of them, and I resonated very strongly with them. Gave the book to my sister to read, who was on the next sunbed to me because we were on holiday in Greece at the time. She loved it as well. So it's a rattling good read, but I've expanded on the concept because I think there is more than 3 entrepreneurs traps. Well, I've certainly fallen into more than 3 of them, that's for sure. So I've drawn on my personal experience with this one. So let's get started with the first entrepreneurs trap, shall we? The first entrepreneur's trap is a lack of strategy. Now, everybody says write a business plan when you're starting a business, and that is so dull and such a waste of your time. The only time you ever need to write a formal business plan, and ideally it wouldn't be you writing it, is when you're going to raise money. Well, I can't think of any business I've ever started that's had money put into it, apart from the hotel, in fact. And that wasn't external money, that was money I borrowed. So it doesn't really count because I was still bootstrapping it on the marketing front. The best way of writing a business plan I've ever come across is the one outlined in Gino Wickman's book, Traction. Traction's a fantastic book. It's a how to plan your business, how to write a workable business plan that you can stick to. I prefer to call it a strategy plan. And then how to then make sure that you're on track, and you're on track in time to meet your goals that you set at the very beginning of this. It's absolutely brilliant. It gives you really good sort of worksheets, but the essential bones of it are that you set a goal. So you want your business to have achieved this in X number of time, and they recommend you look at 10 years. And then you work out what would need to be. Remember, we talked about prerequisites for success and necessary conditions. What prerequisites for success would you need to have in place for your business to achieve that in the next 10 years? And then you talk about what are the necessary conditions for each of those prerequisites for success. And then once you've got all that clear in your head, you can then go along and write a timeline of what would need to have happened in half the time for you to be there at 5 years. If, for example, your 10-year goal is that we've got 100 clients paying us X amount and they're absolutely delighted with our products and services, then you know, what do you need to have achieved to be halfway there? Is it going to be an exponential curve? So, you go along for a while and you get clients and clients and clients, and then it suddenly goes like that? Or is your growth going to be a straight line that goes like that? So let's take it that it's going to be a straight line, because it's a bit easier to work out. Where do you need to be in 5 years' time to be halfway there? And then you write all that down on your sheet. And then think to yourself, where do I need to be in 2.5 years' time to be a quarter of the way there? Then you work out, where do I need to be in 1 year's time? And then where do I need to be in 6 months' time? And you see what you're doing. You're working your way backwards. So every single step, every single sort of logical timeline, you're giving yourself goals. Now, people were terrified of setting goals. I was for years. And I was terrified of setting goals because I was scared that I was going to disappoint myself later on. The great thing about the Gino Trackman worksheet is that it's adjustable. You adjust it every 3 months, because the next steps, once you've got your 1 year goals, is to break it down into 6 month goals, then 3 month goals, then 1 month goal, then goals for the next 4 weeks to get you to that 1 month goal. And the beauty of doing it like this, it's a bit like the cash flow management spreadsheet I teach, where you're not managing your money monthly, as most people do in arrears. You're managing your money actively and weekly. And it's exactly the same with the strategic plan from Traction, because it enables you to work out where you're going wrong weekly, and if you're achieving your goals weekly. And that means that you can pull yourself up and pick yourself up and see directly if you're achieving your goals and adjust them. You don't have to feel bad if you don't achieve your goals on a weekly, monthly, 3 monthly, 6 monthly, 1 year basis. What you need to do is adjust. It's a bit like an aeroplane, they're never flying in a directly straight line. They're always adjusting their course because of weather conditions or the engines or whatever, or the amount of people on board, or the amount of luggage in the bottom, in the hold. That's what you need. You need to be able to adjust your strategic plan as you go, and you need to be realistic about it, and you need to not beat yourself up if you don't achieve a target. You need to work out why you haven't, using your necessary prerequisites for success and your necessary conditions. And you can see how all that would fit together. So you know what you're doing, you know what needs to be in place for success. And as you go along, you can strategically change your plan to suit your circumstances. It's an absolutely brilliant way of working out how to plan your business in terms of being really objective and also really deadline and timeline driven. And that really gives you a really good sense of where you are on your plan on a strategic level. And then what you do is you work out what you need to do this week, and it gives you specific actions. And you're often telling me what you're going to be doing. It's not me telling you what you're going to be doing. We work through this process together, and you come up with some really cool action steps for just this week. And you don't have to look any further on than that. You don't have to worry yourself about next month or next year or 5 years' time or 10 years' time, because you've worked it back and you know that if you just do the things you've said you're going to do this week, then you'll achieve your goals. And that means that when you knock off on Friday night, you can have a nice weekend, recharge your batteries and relax, knowing that you're actually well on track for your strategic plan for success. I hope this helps and it hasn't been too incoherent. I know this stuff inside out, but explaining it to someone else is another challenge. But I hope I've done a good job. Give me some comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And you know where I am if you need me, clicksandleads.com/academy. Have a great day and I'll see you tomorrow.